Hi guys, this is our first time with the Digital and Learning Resources Department offering a webinar, and we're hoping to continue on with offering webinars in our series called I.T.S, Instructional Technology Specialist, a tech tip. And so today we're offering a Mimio basic session, and we're trying to find a way to make sure that we can reach all of the teachers in our district. And something that's great about this webinar is that it allows you to pair yourself next to your Mimio board. And so if you are in a location where you can set your computer where you can hear and then participate along with, that's how you're going to get the most bang for your buck. And we're going to go 45 minutes for It's a Tech Tip Mimio Basics. I know right now some of my I.T.S team that's in the room, they're supporting in the chat, and we are going to drop the virtual sign-in sheet there. We want to make sure that you get your CPE credit for the 45-minute session. So Jesus Morales is going to drop that in. We also have Sharita Martin joining us and Julie Rivas as well. All right, so with that, I'm going to get started. Today we're sharing Mimio basics. I'm going to go over 4 things with you. The first thing that I'm going to share with you is the Mimio interface. The second thing that I'm going to share with you guys is the mini PC. There actually is a computer mounted to the back of the Mimio board, so that's the second device. The third thing I hope to share with you is that if you are using a document camera, in most cases, not all cases, but in most cases, the document camera, even the Ladybug document camera, will work with the Mimio board. So I'm going to share one instance, but there are a couple scenarios. And the fourth thing that we hope to share with you is that if you were used to screen sharing or screen mirroring your teacher laptop to the Mimio board, that is also an option using an application called CleverShare. So if you are going to need that application, you want to go ahead and grab CleverShare for your Mimio board from self-service. All right, so we're going to get started. When you turn on your Mimio board, you're always going to want to look down here on the bottom right-hand side for the on-off button. Right now, it's just a plain white color, and that means it's on. If you tap it, you can turn it off, but I'm going to leave it on for our session here. Usually you're going to find profiles. In most cases, there's only one called the owner profile. We know that there may have been some movement from the end of the school year to the start. So I'm going to take you into the owner profile because we recommend in our team that each person has their own profile. And that's just for security reasons. As you're saving things, they all fall into your profile. And if you ever have to leave the room, it's super quick and easy to delete that profile. And the next teacher moving into the space doesn't have to clean that up. So I'm going to hop into owner and share how that's done. An owner, again, is the account in which you can manage the Mimio board. And typically when you hop in to the Mimio board, it's going to look just like this. And we have 4 applications on display. So in order to add a new user to the board or even delete a user, you'll simply click on settings. And from settings, because we're looking for users, you'll just do a quick scroll and look for the word user. From user, you can see that I've already added users. You can have up to 5 users on the board. So we have the owner, which is always going to be there. We have the teacher who's using this board. We have a guest, and then we have the user that I created right now. So if you need to create a user profile for yourself, you're simply going to click add user and then take a minute to name the user. I'll call this one user. We do recommend that you place a PIN. And so if you're feeling confident with adding a PIN number, go ahead and add that and then create your user. Okay, I'm going to cancel out of this. And I am going to head into my user account by going over here to our system tools on the left-hand side. So typically it looks like this, left, right-hand side. Click system tools, and under more, you can go ahead and switch users. And I want to make sure that all of the changes I make to this board that doesn't belong to me are going to be in my own unique user. So let me click on that. So again, in that space where I took you to add a user, there's a little trash can so you can delete a user if you're trying to delete one that you've created. But also there is a way for you to edit that username if needed. Okay, so I'm here inside of my Mimio interface under my profile. There's a couple things that I want to point your attention to, and that is that we do have our applications here. One of the ways our teachers are using this board the most is by using this app called Notes. So I'm going to hop into Notes first and kind of explain some things as we go. Notes will be our instead of or a replacement for a traditional chalkboard or for a whiteboard. When you hop in, it's going to be really important to take note of the different options we have down here on the bottom, and just know that whatever you click on, you're controlling the board this way. Most of our boards come with a pen, and I actually forgot to set them out. Sorry about that. Pens, and they're two-sided, so you can actually program them to be whatever color you'd like. So without, a pen, I can just use my finger and, of course, write. On the bottom, because pen is selected, that's why it's writing. But if I tap one more time, I have options to go ahead and customize the board. And so in this case, I can see I have students in the back of the room. It might be necessary to go ahead and increase the width of that marker. And so I can go ahead and do that, or even make a change to the color so that it's easy for my students to see. And I'm just going to jot my name down. It's the first thing that's coming to mind. And then you have use of the board. To clean the board, of course, you have clear all and an eraser, but this should also double as an eraser as well. So those are just some basic things that you can do with this board. I want you to know that when you're in your room working on this, there are other options like rulers, shapes, tables, mind maps, but we're not going to get too deep into that today. The other thing our teachers like to know is, how do I change the paper, or how do I change the color of the background? So in order to do that, you're going to look over here for the word menu. And when you click on menu, there's three important things that we want to use for our basics. That is the theme, that is to open, and to save notes, okay? So in order to change our theme or the background, you want to head over to that word theme, and notice that when you're in there, you'll see lots of different templates that may meet your need as a teacher. My lower grade teachers tend to really like the numbers 100s chart. I'm going to go ahead and get me a clean page by clicking add. And then we have here a nice hundreds chart that we can do a little bit of our skip counting with, 5, 10. And of course, the goal is for our students to be utilizing and engaging with the board. Let me add another page. If I want to change the background color, so we have themes, we can always go back to another template if needed, but there's also background colors as well. So fall is coming, so maybe I'll go with kind of an orange color, or even a purple, like my favorite color here. And then when you click OK, you've successfully changed that background color for your notes, okay? After you've created a masterpiece or work of art, I say work of art, but the notes for your students, you may want to be able to go back to notes that you have from previous days. And so just by selecting page number, you can hop back to previous notes that you've created with your class, okay? And again, if you have some really great notes that you want to be able to get back to in a couple days, it's going to be important to save those notes. So to save your notes, we'll head over here to menu, save as. You're going to notice a folder system up here. I tend to like to hop and throw my notes into the notes folder. Of course, if you save it here, it'll just be here on the outside, but I'm going to select notes and okay. It'll allow me to name the notes. By default, if you forget to name the notes, they're just the date and the time. So I'm going to call this math, maybe unit 1, and then click OK. And now I have those notes saved to my board. From the menu, you can always create a brand new note. Brand new note. Here we go, new. And I think I should go back to something blank because it's remembering the last thing that I created. Here we go, cancel. And you'll notice that I forgot to hit the OK button. Theme. Okay, there we go. So if I want to go back to the previous notes that I saved, it's going to be important to go to the word open. Recognize where you saved it. I saved mine into notes, and then there is my notes, math unit 1. So if I click on it, it'll take me back to those notes. Okay, so that's a quick rundown of the Notes app. There's a lot of features in here, but it's going to be really important that you take the time to click on those things and get started. And remember that you as the user, whatever you click on, you're telling the board or programming the board to complete those tasks. All right, I'm going to spend a little bit of time real quick over here on our system tools. Inside of our system tools, if you want to get back to the main screen, of course, clicking on the home icon is going to be important. We also have live apps. Live apps is going to show you, just like your phone, all of the apps running in the program. We have notes, you have a filing system. We also have other apps if you want to dig in there. We, again, won't go through these applications during our basic session, but I definitely recommend checking out palettes if you have a little bit of time. Okay, so notes. We want to take a little bit of time to also figure out how to switch and manage within our board. And because this board is it's a Mimio board, but we can plug other items into it, knowing that we can use input to switch between different devices that are connected to this board will be really important, okay? So one way is to select the word input, but another way right down here on the bottom where the black space is in the center of your board, if you swipe up, you're also going to see those common settings. And so from here, you might see Android, HDMI 1, or Mimio, mini PC. You should be able to select other items that are plugged into your board. So the second thing that I wanted to share with you guys is that you have a mini PC, an actual computer plugged into the Mimio board, and that mini PC serves as a computer, a big touchscreen computer that you can use with the board. If you have a black screen, that could mean that the mini PC just went to sleep. Not a big deal. All you have to do, it's still working. Find your mouse and click on it. Oh, there we go. And I can see the last teacher that signed into the board. So I'm going to sign into the board today. By signing into the board, if someone else has already signed in, I'm just going to click other user, and I'm going to sign in with my EPISD username and password. So if you're working with your board right now, take a moment to go back to the screen to switch inputs from input here to mini PC or HDMI 1, or swipe up mini PC, right, or HDMI 1, and you want to switch over to your mini PC. If it doesn't work when you click on the mouse, there's a chance that you might need to press the button to turn it on over here on the side of the board. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in with my EPIC username and password. The very first time you do this, it's going to take, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes. So just be patient with it. From that point on, tomorrow when I sign in, it's going to be pretty instantaneous. And so the only day it takes a long time is the first time that you sign in. Okay. While it's working on being almost there, I want to go back to the system tools. Oh, look, it signed me in. And I want you to know that some of these system tools are still available. We do have a timer, we have mark, we have the menu that will also allow you to switch back and forth as well. Okay, it looks like I've successfully been logged into my mini PC. The mini PC is great. Because I have access to this mini PC, I don't necessarily have to screen share my laptop any longer. And so what we recommend is when you're using the mini PC, take note that yes, my name is here and I'm logged in, okay? But I have access to browsers that I have access to on my laptop as well. So I recommend doing a double click on Google Chrome. I'm going to use my keyboard and mouse for just a moment. Then I'll point over. When you open up Google Chrome, it's a good idea to go ahead and sign into your EPISD Google account. And this is so that you set up your account to be ready for your students. And when you're working on your laptop, if you're syncing any bookmarks, they'll be available here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click sign in. And it's going to take time. Again, you want to take the time again to sign in with your EPISD Google account. I'm going to type in my entire email address. And then your email address again, or username. And this is our District 1 login, so we have to sign in there too. And then your district password. When I say district password, it's not necessarily the same password as your laptop. It's going to be the username and password that you use to sign into your district accounts. Okay, so it's asking me, do I want to save my password? I recommend, yes, save your password. You're in a secure environment where you're going to have to sign in with your district password in order to access this. Also, it's ease of use when you're working with your students. Don't have to run over to the keyboard and mouse and type in your username and password every single time you're going to use this. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. And then here I'm going to verify that this is indeed me. It may ask you if you want to sign into the district's account, and that's okay. You can go ahead and click on that as well. It's telling me that it's going to be managed by EPISD. I do know this, and that's okay. It asks me, do I want to turn on sync? And the answer is yes, because again, if you're doing teacher planning on your laptop and you're saving important, let's say bookmarks over here inside of Google, you're also going to see those on your mini PC pretty instantly. So I'm going to say, yes, I want the syncing to happen. Here is more. Got it. This is the very first time I'm logging in. It's also picking up my extensions. So I'm just going to close out of those really quick. And then I'm going to go full screen so that I have that better view for my students. When you're logged into your EPISD Google account, if you have been syncing bookmarks, like I've been saving a couple videos for my students, then I can go ahead and just very quickly and easily bring those up. So what's great about this is I just went to a YouTube video and I might want access to be able to turn my volume up or down. That's going to be where our input is, right? The other thing, I'm looking for my remote control, is your Mimio does come with a remote control that you can use to control volume as well. Of course, I can control volume here too. If you're asked for notifications within your mini PC, I recommend blocking them. In this case, Google is asking, is it okay to send notifications? I don't like notifications when I'm teaching to come through to my students. So I'll say no to notifications here, whereas I might allow those notifications on my computer. Okay, all right, so it's a really good idea to make sure that you do sign into your EPISD account. One other advantage is that you'll have your EPISD bookmarks. If you are using tools like ClassLink or tools like Schoology, it's going to be really easy to access them. And so I already have everything saved. It's going to take me there and I'll be able to set up this environment to look the way I want it to look for my students. Same goes. Usually you can click on this and it'll give you a drop down, but I'm going to adjust. Same goes with the Schoology, right? So I can have my Schoology ready to go, sign in, save, and then it's going to be pretty seamless. All right, I feel like I should ask, are there any questions? But it's a webinar, so is there anything that you would like to add, Jesus or Julie? Okay, all right. Let me show you one more thing really quick, and then let me just go to an interactive. There's a really cool, I'm gonna call it a trick, a Windows trick. Each of our Mimios does come with a keyboard, and so the magic button is F11. I just want you to see what happens. It's going to give you, I'm going to say, I didn't measure it out, 6 to 7 inches of extra space. So if I press F11, it puts me into a full screen mode. And this is going to make it easier for me to be able to interact and for my kids to be able to see more while we're working with interactives. Okay, so F11. All right, now we'll minimize this. Jesus, one of my teammates, was just pointing out that we also have access to all of our Windows-based apps. And so if you do teach with PowerPoints, note that when you click on the Windows icon, you're able to quickly get to your PowerPoints. Let's see if mine will come up. Usually you're auto signed in, but in my case, I've signed into probably 100 Mimio boards. I think I've hit my max. So it wants me to sign in every single time. So I'm not going to try to do that right now, but for you, there's a good chance, I'll close it. There's a good chance that when you open it up, you're going to see a list of all of the PowerPoints that you've been using in your OneDrive on your computer, and they'll just be there and available easily. But you could also sign in if it asks you as well. All right, I'm thinking that those are like the main things. Which keyboard? The virtual keyboard. Okay, so I believe, let me do, hang on. So Jesus has a magic trick that I haven't used. So he says he would add a virtual keyboard. So if you're wanting to add the virtual keyboard, you're gonna hold your finger down or right click on the taskbar. You're gonna go to taskbar settings. And then we're going to scroll and find the keyboard right here, touch keyboard. So if you want that touch keyboard, you can turn that on. And what is neat is when I did, there's a little keyboard here that I could probably also use while teaching if I don't want to have to run over to the keyboard. Cool tip, Jesus. I have not been using that feature. All right, lastly, you're going to want to keep using this for just your teacher stuff, right? The things that you're teaching your students and you want them to see. So the mini PC is not a place to check our emails, not a place to insert grades. It's only a place that we set up for our students. And then on our teacher device, we can continue documenting and doing the things that we need to do on our teacher side, but our students aren't at risk of accidentally seeing documents or sensitive information that they don't need to see. When you're finished, it's a good idea to sign out. But even if you don't sign in, like the previous teacher here is signed in, right? If I were to click on her account to sign in, I can't get in unless I have her password. And so even if you forget to sign in, so let me sign back in really quick, or sign out. There you go. Even if you forget to sign in, sign out, sorry. No one else can sign in without your password. So I do want to make sure that I click sign out so that the teacher of this room is not going to have to worry about seeing my name there all the time, okay? As far as shutting down, you don't necessarily have to shut down your mini PC, but I do recommend maybe October, shut it down. And then when you come back from break, you just have to remember to go in and press the button to turn your mini PC on, okay? While I'm here, I do want to point out that even while you're in the mini PC, your system tools work. So you have access to a timer, the ability to write and mark up. And if there are any other tools that you want to use here, you have access to those tools as well. All right. Fourth thing that we wanted to share with you is that if you are using an existing document camera, it should work with your Mimio board. I have a rare one to share, and I say a rare one because you're either going to have one of three. One being that you have a USB that you're connecting to the board, or a VGA, which is a blue cable that you're connecting to the board. If you need to connect a VGA, you're going to squat right down here on the bottom, and you're going to look up, and you're going to see that there is a way for you to connect a VGA cable. Remember earlier we were talking about switching inputs. So if I were to swipe up, I can switch to the VGA input. So if my document camera requires VGA, then I would just click on VGA and it would swap over to that document camera. In fact, in most cases, when you turn it on, it swaps right over to that camera as well. Okay, you go back over to my Mimio for now. And the same goes for HDMI. If you need to plug in HDMI, there's extra inputs here on the side. And if you happen to be one of the lucky teachers with a USB document camera, there are inputs here where you can plug them in on the front of the board, or you can plug it in on the side of the board. And so this is the one that is a little bit different. There you go. And it's plugged in. What I'm going to do, if I want to use a camera via USB that's plugged into my board, I want to make sure that I hop over to the system tools, and I'm going to use a specific app. The app that I'm going to use is called Visualizer. It looks like a little round webcam, but I'm going to click and I'm going to drag it in here as a shortcut, because in this case, it's one that's going to be used all the time. And again, if you're using a VGA, you're not going to deal with these apps at all. You'll just switch inputs. So as soon as I launch the Visualizer app, immediately it's going to pick up my document camera, and I'm able to use my document camera with my class. All right. One of the neat things about having access to the document camera in this way is that, yes, you can use some of the markup tools, but remember that you also have other markup tools already built into the system tools. These also work on the mini PC, where you can also mark up, let me go with green here, and have your students interact and write instead of maybe writing underneath the document camera. What's neat is you'll notice that as soon as I started writing, it froze the screen. And so right now I can still be prepping and getting something else ready underneath the document camera for my class. Let me flip this over and then close out of this, or save it if you want to save this, but I'll click close. And now we're back to a different view in our document camera. Okay, I'm going to go to live apps, and I'm just going to close out of my document camera and my notes. And the last thing I wanted to make sure that I shared with you, and I probably might have time to share a couple extra Mimio goodies. I was trying to get through the 4 things. The last thing that I wanted to share with you guys is how to use CleverShare. And CleverShare, like I said, is if the mini PC is not working out for you or in a pinch, you need to share something on your Mac laptop, you're going to use the tool called CleverShare. It's available in self-service for your district Mac. I'm going to have Jesus switch, actually before Jesus switches over, this little icon at the top of your screen is how you're going to access CleverShare. In some cases, you're already going to see a code available. If you don't see a code, you'll just tap. You'll have access to the code. If you select View Main Interface, it'll make it large for you. So I'm just going to make it large. And I'm going to skip the update for this moment. There we go. And I'm going to have Jesus switch over to the view so you can see what CleverShare looks like the first time you launch it, and you'll enter this code into that space. Quick disclaimer, when you launch CleverShare for the first time, if it's asking for an admin username or password, you just want to submit a ticket to Zendesk so that someone can come enter that info for you, but it's still going to work, okay? So you can still use it for the next 3 weeks, or let's say 1 week. The texts are going to be pretty responsive. You just press cancel 2 times, and then you can share your screen. So don't stop because you see that pop up. Just cancel, and then get to sharing your screen. But submit that ticket right away, because when our techs put the password in, you're going to have access to be able to share your sound, and some of those things are not available until that username and password is typed in. All right, Jesus, you're sharing it. So Jesus, I'm going to hop out so I can see what Jesus is sharing. He's going to type in the code that's here on my screen. You would type in the code on your screen, and then you'll see that you have screen share and desktop sync. In this session of our basics, we really just cover screen share, but when you're ready to share, you'll click the word share. And what's really neat about this is you have the option of using extended desktop, or if you have other applications open, you can share those as well. But we're just going to go with mirroring of the desktop. You guys are going to see what is on Jesus's screen. We swap back over to my side. All right, so we're back here. As soon as you hit mirror, it's going to ask on the Mimio board to accept, right? So this is a nice little, we'll call it safety mechanism, right? Because if students are trying to share, you will decide who you're going to accept and who you're going to reject. We go, I can see we have quite a few teachers in our session. So now you guys are seeing what is on Jesus's laptop right now. Jesus, will you click this word mirroring for us? What's really neat about Mimio's CleverShare is that if you turn on the touch, so by default, it's got a red X on it, but if you turn it on, now you have touch capabilities to be able to use the Mimio board with CleverShare connected touchscreen. So Jesus, can I launch your calendar or your notes? What would be safe? Let me launch your Launchpad. So if I were to click on Launchpad, it's now a big touchscreen computer, and we're looking at Jesus's laptop. So just like the mini PC, it's now touchscreen. So I can pull up interactive websites and my students can interact with it, digital whiteboards and so forth. So it's a really neat tool. Let me hop back over to mirroring again, since I can. If you need to switch what you're sharing, you can go ahead and certainly do that. Pause. There's some other options. One of my favorites is being able to close out when I need to stop sharing my laptop. There's also a little option down here on the bottom to close out of your screen share as well. So Jesus, I'm going to click close, and now we're not sharing anymore. But if I change my mind, I can always hop back over to this, and it shows me that one device is still connected. And then I believe this is the button that I would press to start mirroring again. There we go. And I'm mirroring again until Jesus quits out of CleverShare. So even though I disconnected, it's still really easy for me to reconnect without having to run back over to my computer. Oh, the red, oh, right here? Okay, I'll kick you out that way. So now you're gonna disconnect permanently. Okay, disconnect. All right, I say permanently, but it's not so permanent. Okay, so I'm really excited that we have a couple extra minutes and I can share a little bit more because I went pretty fast. I don't know if we have the availability, Jesus, for anyone to ask questions. Yeah, so if you do have a question or something that you're wondering about, go ahead and send that over to Jesus. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop into a note really quickly. And I want to share that we also have something called split screen. You can crop and bring things into notes. Let's say, don't load the last file. And then let me clear this thing out to a blank paper. Okay. All right. So I'm back on the Mimio side, and I'm just going to share like a little easy thing that we can do here. And this is just because in working with students, sometimes doing a search and find or looking for different things is fun, right? So we actually have a tool built in to our system tools that is called Spotlight. So this is a little bit different. If you click Spotlight, might be hard to see, but there's a little spotlight that you can drag through. So if you're investigating a picture or investigating the cover of a book or something really special, you can also turn off so that it's not transparent. We only see the spotlight. So I'm going to click settings, turn off the clarity, and students could be engaged in moving the spotlight to search for something like the letter A. And corally, as a class, we could all say the letter and the sound. And so you can have some hidden items that could be a part of a search and find to make using the Mimio board a bit interactive. Let me see. Let me go back home. Anywhere you go on the Mimio board, including the document camera, including the mini PC, you always have access to a tool called Crop. And Crop will let you take a picture of whatever you're seeing on the board. So it could be student artwork from the app called Palette. And if you click the word Crop, you're going to be able to take a picture or a screen capture. So like I said, if I'm on the mini PC and we're looking for examples of tadpoles or a cycle, right? I can go and take a picture of something. So I'm going to grab this and I can resize it. And it gives you some options that you're going to want to tinker with. But if you want to save, you're basically saving the picture to the Mimio's filing system or the cloud if you turn that on. But if you click insert, it takes it right into the Notes app so that you can use it with your students. So now I have this picture in my Note app. And if I wanted it on a clean page, I might have started with a clean page and then used that app called Crop. Here we go. And then insert, and it'll take that picture right into my Note app. So those are really cool features that I didn't think I was going to get to with you. Trying to think if there's anything else that I want to make sure that we cover. Any other fancy things? Okay. So Julie, my ITS fellow ITS here, is sharing one other thing she would want to remind you guys about, and I agree, is that your keyboard and your mouse stay with the Mimio board they're assigned to. Each Mimio board should, on my campuses, they're labeled for the room number. And so it's a good idea to label the mouse and the keyboard with the room number that the board is in. For the mouse, notice that on the bottom, this is for Mimio boards. It's red if it's turned on. If I turn it off, you won't see a red light, right? So that's important. And we've plugged, start that statement again. We've plugged the little USB that communicates with the keyboard and the mouse into the side of the board here, into the USB that says 3.0. And by doing that, we're able to use the keyboard and the mouse on the Mimio board and the mini PC and other items that are plugged into the board. All right, do we have any questions over there, Jesus? No? All right. Okay, I guess the last little bit of a trick that I didn't get to share was split screen. So that's a fun one. You can use split screen on the computer as well. You hop into notes, and inside of our More tool, we do have the option for split screen. So if you did want to use two apps at the same time, I'll hop into, let's leave it like this. Here we go. We've got, there we go. We have, one more time, split screen. I want to use Visualizer. There we go. So now I can use my document camera and then possibly notes at the same time. Doesn't make any sense, but we have the document camera here while we may be taking notes on the other side. So you do have split screen options when you're using the Mimio side, but also you can do split screen on the mini PC as well. So I'm going to go back to our home in this navigation. Really, if you're just getting started with the Mimio board, I want you to know it takes a good week of processing and trying to remember the things that you can do and where they're at. And before you know it, you'll just kind of be clicking around all over, and you'll be teaching like beautifully with the Mimio board. So I do want to thank you guys for joining us. Today we covered 4 parts in our Mimio basics. One was just navigating the Mimio board. Let me swipe up to go back to Mimio, and I'm going to go back home really quick. So Mimio board. Inside of the Mimio space, excuse me, we talked a little bit about notes, a little bit about the settings, and then the system tools. Then we took a moment to switch over to the mini PC, the computer that's mounted to the back of your Mimio board. And we took a minute to sign in and set it up for the way you would like it to look with your students. The third thing we did was take a moment to view the document camera and know that it's possible for you to add a document camera. It's going to depend on your camera, whether it's USB or if you plug it in VGA or plug it in via HDMI. And lastly, that you can share the screen of your laptop using Clevershare to the Mimio board. Thank you guys so much for joining us after school for our quick 45-minute Mimio basics. I hope you guys have a great evening and a really great first week back, teachers. And I know you guys are working so hard to get ready for our students. We really appreciate you and the work that you do. Have a great evening.